Hello, everybody. Hello. I got my summer do. I kind of was trying to have a little beachy look, and I think I got a little frizz look going today. I'm really happy that it's Wednesday. I've been getting my kids ready to go to camp. I've always had one go to sleepaway camp. Well, not always, but the last couple years, minus last year. And so getting two ready for sleepaway camp has been quite the task. So getting them ready to go next week. So we're just doing all things preparing for sleepover camp, which is very fun. So just busy in the Thall household. But what else is new, right? Y'all are always busy too. So let's focus today on what to do if you feel like you keep breaking your promises. And you know this feeling. You know the feeling when you tell yourself today's going to be different and then it's the same. Right? You say, today I'm going to be really good. Good. I'm going to be really good. I'm not going to overeat late at night. I'm going to just close the kitchen out at like 7 o'clock and it's going to be amazing. Tonight's the night. And then it's not. And then you do it again, and then you do it again, and you keep doing it again. That's what I want to talk to you about today, is what to do. And I want to give you a strategy that you can use when or if this is happening to you, when you feel like your word is not really meaning much anymore. And you keep repeating this cycle and this habit of telling yourself one thing and then not following through. So if you can relate to that, by golly, feel free to share with me in the comments. I love seeing that. I love knowing that you're like, yes, I'm right there too, Marna. I totally get it. I do the exact same thing. This is super frustrating and I want to change it in my life. So the first thing of this 5-step process is to really get clear of what's going on. What's happening? So what you do is you just get out a piece of paper. This is my favorite way to do this. I just get out a piece of paper and without judgment, without any emotion in there, I just write the facts. What is happening inside of my relationship with night eating, late night eating, where I tell myself today's going to be different and maybe it's not. So I want you to write out what is going on. What's happening? I want to know. And what this does, if you write it out without judgment, you can just see the words. What's happening? I tell myself every night after dinner, kitchen closed, and then by 10 o'clock, I'm going downstairs and I'm hunting for some food in the cabinet and I'm grabbing some ice cream. I'm grabbing some cookies. I'm grabbing something. You know I'm not alone. You know this has happened to you. Yeah, Barbara, you go, yeah, that's me. So this occurs. So I just want you to write out what's happening without the judgment, without the emotion, just the facts, Then once you've written out the facts, then it's time to hunker down and look at what's actually going on. What is actually happening emotionally, mentally? So in other words, it might be food sounds so good late at night. I just want something cozy, nurturing, loving at night to I'm just crave chocolate like mad. Or it could also be things like I'm just feeling so lonely at night and I'm using food as a way to comfort, nurture, and just kind of hang out with myself. Or everybody else in my family has dessert and it's just so hard to say no when everybody else in my family is saying yes. The second part is just once you have the facts of what's going on, then we start to bring in the emotion. We start to bring in, well, then what's happening emotionally to you? What's going on? What's mentally, emotionally going on that is making this difficult for you? And it could just be that, like, I just crave some food at night. Okay, all right. And oftentimes what we do is we make that wrong. We make it hard. We make it difficult. We make it so I shouldn't crave food at night, but I do. And then there's this internal battle that oftentimes occurs. And so if you just look at what are the things you're telling yourself in step two. What are the emotions? Food looks good. It tastes good. I want it. Everybody else is eating it. I'm lonely. I feel like I just am craving it at night. I just crave it at night. Then we at least start to paint this picture of what is going on in your evenings, what's happening, or that time of day. It could be breakfast, it could be lunch, it could be after lunch, whenever it is. Some of you are like, I'm not a night eater, but I definitely am a 3 o'clock eater. Whenever it is, it could be weekends. You just start painting the picture, the facts, and then the second part, kind of the emotions, start to dig in a little bit further. Then the strategy I like to use with my clients is then we start inching up your way to success. Okay. The strategy I love, because if you've been trying to get in front of this for any length of time and it's not working, this will work. This will work. This will change this for you. So I have a few questions I want you to ask yourself around this pattern. First question. How long have I been telling myself things were going to be different? I'm sure for many of you, it hasn't just been a few weeks, right? Has it been years? Has it been months? Has it been decades? How long have you been doing this? Because clearly this little pattern that you've gotten yourself into is not working, right? When you say, oh, things are going to be different, and then you show up and you're like, nope, I keep eating, right? I just want you to assess a little bit. Do I really want this pattern to change? This is probably the most important of the questions. Do you really want that pattern to change? Because sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to be thinner and lighter, but I really also want my chocolate late at night. And that's okay if you have that, but then let's just get clear of what actually you want. I'd like to be thinner and I'd love to have some chocolate too. Great. But if you're fighting with yourself, if it's like, no, I want to be somebody who never eats at night, then get clear of that. But I want to make sure, who is deciding this? Who's deciding? I want you to decide. How do you want this to look? And I want you to really look at, do you want this pattern to change? If you want the pattern to change, awesome. But you decide what you want it to look like. And then I like to look at, like, what's my ultimate goal? Because if ultimately I'd like to be somebody who may not be somebody who eats late at night, ultimately I'd love to be the person who doesn't want food late at night. Awesome. Then I know my ultimate goal. But then we've got to start with where you are right now. So if you're somebody who wants that as your ultimate goal, what's the inch? What's the first inch that you can take to move yourself toward that? And I want to make sure you guys are being realistic. So here's some examples. Instead of having half a bag of Reese's Pieces, I'm going to take the bag and I'm going to divvy it up for 5 nights. And then there I'm going to like spread it out. And each night I'm going to have a little bag. And then you say, okay, does that feel like the right strategy? Does that feel okay? Does that feel good? You may have a part of your brain like, well, I still don't want to have any, but that hasn't been working for you. So does that feel okay to then divide those up into 5 days? Or instead of having a whole bag of popcorn, I'm going to have a half bag and I'm going to eat it and I'm going to be so stinking mindful of every stinking bite I'm going to have. Okay? So we start to really get realistic. We're inching this up. So to say no late night food, nothing when you've been fighting this for years, then let's do something differently, okay? Let's make a different strategy for your brain and for your body. Yes, this can be an inner conflict. So here's where you know that we want to eliminate the inner conflict, okay? The inner conflict will be gone when you ultimately know, ideally, where you're going and what you're willing to do right now that's realistic for your life. Because some of you think, oh, I'm never going to have a drink, or I'm going to go to this party, I'm not going to drink at all, or I'm not going to have any food. And then you suffer at the party, and then you come home and you gob and you eat and you gorge yourself. Right? So what is happening there? That's not great for you either. So I'd much rather you say, I'm going to be somebody who is going to have, I'd really like to try this out. I'm going to take my Reese's Pieces. I'm going to take whatever it is, and I'm going to have 5 cookies instead of 10. Just think about that. 5 cookies instead of 10 moves you towards where you want to go. 5 Reese's Pieces instead of being unconscious, right? Being really mindful, having 5 of them every night. Or having a fun goal or task, you're being like, I'm just going to see how long I can sustain this, like keep a bag around. But you've got to inch this up, because once you go from having 20 unconsciously to 5 consciously, then you can take the next inch. Once you feel like, I like this is good, this is working for me, I'd like to now move to the next level, the next inch up, which would be, now I'm ready to go to 3. Or maybe I'd like to go 5 every other night. So then you start to inch it up, and you then start to be that person. But what's happening oftentimes is you just go, whoosh, I'm not going to have it. And then you fight with yourself. And yesterday's podcast, I really talked about, are you doing too much battling inside of your head? Are you giving this way too much energy versus just making a decision of who you want to be and how you want to show up? That is doable. That is realistic for your life. All right? The realistic piece is where you don't fight yourself. When you are fighting yourself, you're making the energy around food bigger, brighter, more important than it needs to be. We want to do the exact opposite. I want you to lessen that energy, lessen the power it has over you. And we do it by just coming up with this simple strategy and going, okay, great. You know what? I'm going to take my Hershey's Kiss, I'm going to divide them into 5 bags, 10 bags, whatever I want to do. Or I'm going to have 8 each night, 5 each night. And see how that is. So then the last thing, so number 4 is you're going to do something that's doable. And then 5, you're going to see, how did that feel? How did that work out? Did that work for me? Or was that something then that I still wanted more? So if you still wanted more after a couple nights of testing it out, then that's your indicator that, okay, we got to try something else. So got to try something different. It's too little food. Maybe we need to inch it up a little bit more. And we'll get there. We'll get to that point where we don't want sugar, or we may want a little bit less, or we may not have it as much, or we may go several days not having it. But why don't we bring permission and doability into this process versus pain and fight and struggle? And so let's inch the way to success for you. Stop fighting with yourself, and let's get real and honest and take a really powerful look at what's going on without judgment. And let's create a plan. And let's do it in a way that actually will work and fits into your life. It does not fit into my life to never have sugar right now. I don't want that. I might want it at a different time. I don't want it right now. So having a few Hershey's Kisses very mindfully, or whatever it is that I'm choosing to do, very mindfully, really tasting them, gaining a lot of satisfaction, taking my time, really enjoying it. That feels great. That I like. So I want you to think about and write out, what are you going to do? What's your level up inch? What are you going to do to level up and progress an inch? And we're going to inch your way to success and get to where you want to be, but let's do it in a way that works right now with your brain. And sometimes you go, well, hey, I used to be able to not have sugar. I don't know what's wrong with me. I used to be able to just say no. What's wrong with me? Well, right now, you're just having a harder time doing it, and that's okay. And so what is doable? What is realistic? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? What will fit into your life? And then assess it. But if you don't know where the breakdown's happening, That's why we start there. The breakdown is happening late night eating, overeating, meals at dinner. I see it with 4 o'clock eating, coming home from work and eating, feeling exhausted and tired and eating instead of sleeping. Wherever the difficulty, going out to eat all the time, like, and going unconscious with your eating. Wherever it is, I just want you to get clear of what's the big kahuna right now. What's the thing that when you think 5 months out, if you cut back your sugar intake at night by 50%, that's significant weight loss over time. That's amazing. So what are you going to do? And you can feel free to share with me in the comments. What are you going to do to change and inch up? What's going to happen? This does not have to be hard. I'm sick of you guys thinking this is hard. It doesn't have to be. Don't have that mindset that this is hard. It's about, let's be doable and realistic, and then make changes according to what feels good and doable for you. And just make the decision. This will change your body. This will change this habit that you may have been struggling with for years and years and decades. By just giving yourself permission and having a plan, and then assessing how it worked or how it didn't work, and then maybe making another plan if it didn't work, or continuing on if it did work. Great. But don't make this too hard. Don't make yourself be Mother Teresa, where you can't ever, you're like, oh, I have to be perfect. No, this is not about perfection. Great. You're going to start leaving at least one bite on my plate at dinner. See, that is phenomenal. That is exactly what I want you to do. That is exactly what I'm talking about. The 1 inch towards where you want to be, ultimately. One bite adds up. And then that 1 bite, you may or may be willing at some point to go into 2 bites. That is phenomenal. That is exactly what I'm talking about today. And I want all of you to consider something doable that you can do. That's not going to feel hard. That's not going to feel difficult. That's not going to feel painful. That's actually, when you have that thing, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. That feels totally on point for me. That's how the feeling should feel inside of your body when you've made a 1 inch up success agreement with yourself. And you've just said, oh, this feels doable. I can have those 4 Reese's Pieces, and that is going to be great tonight. That's going to be wonderful, and I'm going to really taste them. That feels wonderful. Amazing. You should feel it. It should feel like a visceral yes, a mental yes. I can totally do this, yes. And then start taking action on it and see how you show up. And if you need to write a little note reminding yourself, or you need to do a little action to get everything lined up for you for the week, like bagging up, popcorn or whatever it is that you crave, do it. Get it set up. Get it ready for you to be successful. How awesome for you that you get to be successful doing this. And then celebrate, acknowledge your brain, acknowledge your behaviors, acknowledge yourself for doing this amazing work. So let me just review these really quickly. I'll look at my notes here. 1, I want you to get clear of what's going on with your relationship with food. What's not working? Just the facts, no feelings, no emotions. And then I want you to look at, why do you keep breaking plans that you have for yourself? Why? Why does it keep happening? Write it out. Food looks good. I just crave a lot of chocolate at night. I've gotten into this pattern and habit of eating chocolate at night. I just find it very soothing. My husband and I just have in this pattern of eating late at night, and there's something very connecting, or I feel so lonely in the evening that I just want to sneak eat after everyone's in bed. Whatever it is, let's just bring it. Let's just see it. And then you're going to do the third thing, which is inching your way to success. You're ask yourself, how long have I been telling myself things were going to be different and they don't, and they aren't? Has it been a while? Okay, that's interesting. Do I really want this pattern to change? What's the long-term goal? And what's the first inch to getting there? Those are the 4 questions. How long have I been telling myself that things were going to be different? Do I really want this pattern to change? What's the long-term goal? And what's the first inch to getting there? Then number 4, is that first inch doable? Realistic? Does it fit into your life? And does it feel like a yes? And then number 5, try it out. How did it go? What happened? Take action and then assess. And then celebrate. Good job, me. Woohoo! One night down where I kicked some major booty and I'm changing this pattern for myself. And it was so easy and it was so doable. Awesome. This feels so good. And you might have a brain that goes, but you really shouldn't eat anything late at night. But you really shouldn't. Let that go for right now. There's a whole lot of buts out there. But guess what? The truth, the real story right now, the real happening, the real facts of your life is that you are doing this. So let's get real with yourself and come up with a plan to move this habit and pattern out of your life. Instead of lying to yourself or making it so hard for you to change because you want it totally and completely gone. But the real truth, the real facts are that you've been doing it day in, day out. So let's just go with the facts and look at them, not judge them, but come up with a plan. Okay? Last night you said I sat with a whole box of gummy bears while I was working until 2 a.m. to meet a deadline. In the future, I'll put them in a small bowl and also get some grapes and gum and some healthier choices to nibble my stress away because, of course, I finished the box. Yeah, because guess what? You were using food as your buddy. It was your buddy. Those gummy bears were like little buddies to say, hey, we have a deadline. We're going to be up really late. Let's have these buddies. You're emotionally tying food to helping you stay awake and get through the work. And I want you to even explore what could you do? This is amazing. You came up with a great solution. And then we're going to just start like looking at, oh, what if food wasn't my buddy at work? What if I could get through this deadline with some great music, amazing incense, with some beautiful thoughts, with, I don't know, something awesome to smell or feel or get in my cozy hat. My sister used to do this really cute thing and she put her like little thinking hat on when she put this one hat that she would have and she'd be like, I really need my thinking hat. She used her thinking cap or hat when she was a kid. Like you could do something fun too to switch over that energy. I love this so much. Way to be solution oriented. It's the unlimited supply that gets me in trouble. I will eat something until it's gone. Okay. So if that's the fact that whatever's in front of me at a certain amount of time or always, I eat it all, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by halving it. And my meals, I'm going to have half as much. And then knowing that I can always have more. So I'm going to put half out, half a sandwich, half the yogurt, half the berries, half a banana, whatever you want to do. And then just see how does that feel inside of my body after it's gone. And maybe if you just bring some more presence, some more connection into enjoying that food and actually tasting it, you might find that half is the perfect amount. Or you might find you need a little bit more. Whatever it is, it's perfect. So find what it is, or it could be taking just a sliver off, 2 bites off, 4 bites off. That is great. Okay? Yeah, it's like we look at food, we use it as our buddies. And that's why sometimes people will be like, well, I'm feeling kind of sad because what if I don't use food as my buddy anymore? I'm like, I know, I get it. When you've used food as a buddy for a long time, and I'm telling you to change it up and shift it, it can feel like a little bit of loss, but what do you gain? And what else could be a new buddy? So we can replace that buddy with something else. And then if you're focused not on the loss, But what you get to have as a result of shifting the buddy, of having a few less gummy bears and a whole lot of weight loss, then all of a sudden you go, wow, that's kind of worth it. That's kind of awesome. It's not that you have to say no to gummy bears. It's just shifting how they're showing up in your life and why they're showing up and actually really tasting them. Okay? So you're going to practice and play with this amazing strategy. And if you have any questions, you need anything, myself, my team, we are here for you. We want to help you. We want to support you. And if you haven't taken the free weight loss course or you want to jump into the Thin Within method, whatever we can do to help support you so you start to change your brain and your relationship with food in a doable, loving, kind way, that is my purpose for being here, for helping you, for doing this work. You can change your body and do it in a way that works for your life. All right, everybody. I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you so, so, so much for being here. Take on this strategy and let me know how it's working for you. All right. Bye, everyone.